Hi, and welcome along to AFTV News Daily, the early edition. Happy Easter to everybody out there. Hope you're enjoying the day. Of course, it's a very unusual Easter for us over in the UK. Normally on a day like this, you might visit family. You'd be out, especially on a beautiful day like this, you'd be out and about doing something. But of course, because of the whole lockdown thing, nobody's going anywhere. Today, everybody's got to stay in apart from your just going out and doing your exercise and that. And it's very important. I stress it every day. Very important that everybody adheres to the rules. We all stay inside. We all stay safe. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is at the moment. But happy Easter to one and all. And, also to all those people who've passed away recently. Through this coronavirus thing. It's really horrible. There's been so many deaths over here in the UK. Let's not forget those people. And that's why we got to make sure we stay in, get the stress off of the NHS so that they can, look after the amount of patients that they've had properly. So hopefully we're turning the tide with this thing. But happy Easter to everybody. Now let's get into the football. First of all, there's a couple of stories out today. I'm going to start with this one first. It's about Arsenal and about the players. Apparently, the Arsenal players have been told by the hierarchy at Arsenal, this is according to the media today, that to avoid a pay cut, they're going to have to qualify for the Champions League. Qualify for the Champions League, and your wages will still be guaranteed. Everything will be good. Fail to qualify for the Champions League, sorry guys, we're going to have to give you a pay cut. That is the story that's coming out today. Arsenal, of course, pay out a lot of money on wages, an estimated £230 million a year on wages, one of the highest paying teams for wages in the Premier League. And basically, the hierarchy saying that, listen, we can't sustain those wages if we're not in the Champions League, and you will have to take a pay cut. I mean, there's been a lot of talk already that this has been muted, about a pay cut and stuff like that to some of the players. The players have not been happy with that and have said, they're not willing to take a pay cut. But this apparently is news that's coming out today that, if the money ain't there, from the Champions League, you guys are going to have to take a pay cut. And again, that kind of ties into the story that me and Claude, and big up Claude, that was a brilliant stream last night. Me and Claude were talking and discussing about last night, where it was the president of Gabonese football who came out and was basically saying to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, listen, leave Arsenal. They haven't got, they're not going to win nothing. They haven't got the ambition to win things. Go to another club that will win things. It kind of ties into this. Champions League football is the key for Arsenal. Key to keeping big players, because players like Aubameyang want to play in the Champions League. Key to bringing in players, because every top player wants to play in the Champions League as well. But also key to the type of players we're able to buy, because when you're in the Champions League, you get a windfall of money for being in the competition. The further you go in the competition, your earnings go up. It's just overall a big earner for every football club. And that's why so many football clubs are always so desperate to get into the Champions League. So first of all, we don't even know if the season's going to finish or not. So that's the first question. Hopefully the season will finish, but it looks like, and I think we already knew this, Arsenal are desperate to get in the Champions League, but the players being told that if we don't make it, you might have to take a pay cut, and not going down very well, apparently, that with the players. How's Aubameyang feeling about that when he hears that sort of news? I mean, obviously the circumstances, every player should understand it's unusual times, but still he might be thinking to himself, oh, I don't know, man, time to move on. I hope not, but certainly not great news. Dani Ceballos today as well, being linked today with Juventus. Remember, we've only got Dani Ceballos here on loan. He's, had a sort of a mixed season. For some reason, Unai Emery didn't always want to play him. And when Mikel Arteta came in. He wasn't playing him at first. Of course, he's had injuries as well, but he was just starting to get a lot of game time under Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta sort of looked like he found a nice little deep line position for him, and he was playing very well. Now, will Arsenal attempt to keep hold of him when his loan deal finishes? We've been told already that Real Madrid will extend his loan so that he can complete the season whenever that starts back. But will Arsenal try and get him either on a permanent basis or maybe get him on loan again for a further year? Remember, Dani Ceballos will want to be trying to get into that Spain squad. The Euros are going to be next year now. But Juventus said to be really interested in him. How many more midfielders are Juventus going to have? They've got so many midfielders. Now they're interested in Ceballos, they're interested in Pogba, they've got Ramsey. I mean, how many midfielders do they want at that club? You know what I mean? And on Aaron Ramsey, remember yesterday we did that poll. I asked you the question. I said, with Aaron Ramsey, would you take Aaron Ramsey back at Arsenal? There was rumours yesterday that he's been linked with moves to Manchester United, linked with moves to Liverpool. Chelsea have supposedly also monitoring the situation. And I asked the question, would you have Aaron Ramsey back at Arsenal? Would you swoop if that was the case and try and bring him back? 68% of you said yes, you would take him back at Arsenal. 32% said no. So that's quite conclusive that a lot of you would have Aaron Ramsey back at Arsenal. I must say that I'd have him back. He's a goal-scoring midfielder, something that we lack at the moment. He knows the club inside out, and he's brought us some of our best moments in recent times. So I would have him back, but not that he's coming back. I think he will stay at Juventus for next season, but the rumours are that he could possibly come back. Now, what about this story that's been out in a couple of the newspapers today? It's been catching a lot of attention. One of those kiss and tell stories about Unai Emery. Unai Emery here, pictured with this model. Her name is Sasha Wright, who writes this kiss and tell story today in the papers. Reading through the headliner, it says, Unai Emery called me a white witch and blamed me for getting sacked at Arsenal, reveals ex-girlfriend. That's the exclusive story. And then it goes on to say an ex-girlfriend of former Arsenal boss Unai Emery says he branded her a white witch, blaming her for his team's bad form that got him sacked. What? I mean, this story really came out of when I saw this, I was like, come on. And then it goes on to say today, Sasha Wright opens up for the first time about a 2-year romance with a 48-year-old Spaniard, which ended last month. She also tells how she used Google Translate on dates after matches and would keep, and how Unai Emery would keep her up all night because he's watching 2 games of football at once in bed. I mean, it's a real scandalous story. She goes on to say, Sasha, who's 35, I trusted Unai and really believed we would get married and have kids together one day. I thought he was a gentleman and a real family man, but in the end, I realized he was not ready for a serious relationship. Sasha dumped him last September, just 2 months after he was given the boot by Arsenal. And she goes on to say that he said it was the day we broke up that we started to lose. He told me he was so stressed out of his mind, he wasn't in the right place after we separated. And I'll tell you, Unai Emery who's I think he's married, by the way. And this is the thing that makes me laugh at this story. She goes, he told me he worked in the sports industry and his English was bad and he just moved to London. He asked me out, but he said he didn't want me to meet anywhere, too busy. He asked me to go to his house in Barnet, but I told him absolutely not. We agreed to meet at an Italian restaurant in Hampstead. When we arrived, I realized he must be someone important, as even though the restaurant was about to close, they kept it open. He had a heavy accent and would regularly stop the conversation so he could check the words on Google Translate. I mean, she is really, really handing it to Unai Emery. Poor Unai Emery here. You know what? I'm always very, very skeptical of the stories, these type of kiss and tell stories. When I see it, that's her there, Sasha Wright, all of a sudden now coming out with this story. Yes, it sounds great to say Google Translate because everybody knows that, you know, he used to have problems with, you know, his language here. So did that really happen? Or was she prompted to say that he was using Google Translate and stuff like that? I mean, not the greatest of stories to come out about Unai Emery, but I am always very skeptical of these stories. I mean, for her to say that Unai Emery said, we started to lose when I left you, I don't know. I'm not convinced. I don't know what you guys think of it, but it's everywhere today. So that's why I had to comment on it. I had to talk about it. She's, you know, never mess with a woman, boy, when they come. You know, so that story's out there today and doesn't make Unai Emery look too great. But what do you think of that? Could that be the reason? Because we weren't playing good, you know. We did have that. Well, remember we had that long unbeaten run where we was playing really, really well, right? And then all of a sudden, nah, I'm not going to get drawn into I'm not going to get drawn into it. So, oh, man. But, I've already seen all the jokes come. Look at this guy here. Good evening. You lot are wicked, man. You lot are wicked. Only English newspapers, mate. They're the ones that, you know, they're the ones that come with these type of stories on a regular basis. But let's get some. Look at this. Nine Dragon says, could Mia Khalifa be the reason AFTV lost the final? AFTV. That's a good one. That's a good one, man. Oh my God. Winfred says Emery is blaming everyone for his sacking. He has kind of, that's another thing as well. He has kind of like had quite a go at a lot of people since he's been sacked. Sometimes when you get sacked from a club, I know it's horrible. I know sometimes it's not always just the manager. Sometimes there's been decisions that have been made behind the scenes. I think there's certain decisions that were made that weren't Unai Emery's. The Ramsey thing, was that Emery's decision? The Ozil thing, he obviously didn't fancy Ozil, but was he told to, you know, get rid of Ozil? I don't know, right? And so sometimes, you know, there are situations where it's not the manager's fault, but sometimes when you go and you're being sacked by a club, just leave it. Leave it. Or if you're going to talk about it in a few years' time. Don't talk about it straight away because it does make it sort of look like you're blaming everybody else apart from your fault, apart from you. And listen, you are the manager at the end of the day. And, you know, I always say about managers, you get bigged up when you win. You have to take the flat when you lose. Apparently, you know, unfortunately, that's just part of the job. But some brilliant comments coming there. Happy Easter, Don Robbie comes from Chief. Enough respect due to you, mate. Here's Rick D says Sunderland till I die shows managers are not the one buying the most players, and even tell club bosses and players are no good or overpriced and they still buy them. That is very, very true. I haven't watched the new one yet. I need to watch that up on Netflix, the new Sunderland till I die. But that's very true. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? A lot of times with managers, it's not always their fault. They've got players that they don't want. They're telling owners, listen, we need to move a certain player out. He's not good for the dressing room and stuff like that. And they're just, especially nowadays, because basically they're coaches. So basically they're given players and your job is to coach those players and get the best out of those players and try and win things. They really don't have a mega say on player recruitment and stuff like that. That's stuff done by other departments. They have an input into it, but it's not solely down to the manager. So, you know, AC Milan, yeah, Mike Dennis is saying here, AC Milan want Emery. That is one that's been going around. The AC Milan are after Unai Emery. Of course, he'd be reunited with Gazidis, who brought him in to Arsenal. Nico says, happy Easter, Robbie from Finland. Happy Easter to you as well, mate. Oisin says, Emery's form went bad around the end of last season, well before this. I mean, again, as I said, right, when you see some of these stories, you've got to be skeptical, right? Because the journalists sometimes will be directing, if I can put that in a sort of way in which I'm not going to get myself in problems, right? But they'll direct the story, if you get my meaning. So it'd be like, oh, was that around the time he lost? Did he blame you for that? Those sort of things. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's a bit of that that's gone on in this story. Matthew Kenny says, happy Easter, Robbie. Stay home, stay safe. Definitely, mate, 100%. Here's a story here that's been coming out as well today. Luca that says, Real Madrid interested in Upamecano. Did we miss out buying him last year? Well, listen, we miss out buying players every year. But yes, I've seen that where, they're interested in Upamecano. Again, that wouldn't... I just can't see us buying Upamecano, if I'm being honest, or possibly, but we would have to be selling somebody like an Aubameyang or somebody like that to bring the money in to be able to do that. Lots of happy Easters coming in there. Ella says, happy Easter, Don Robbie from Jamaica. Big up everybody in Jamaica. I know that Easter's normally a big celebration in Jamaica, but I know that Jamaica's under a lot of lockdown now as well. So, hopefully you can enjoy and make the most of it under these very trying circumstances. We've got Declan's here. Robbie, are you going to get Ty on live? He's been missing from AFTV. I was chatting to Claude last night. He's saying that Ty at the moment is just doing his own thing. He's cool and everything, but he's just like, with all what's been going on, he's not really been in the mood to talk about football. So, got to respect him. But Ty's good, man. Ty's perfectly okay at the moment. Another happy Easter here to Don Robbie. Thank you very much. Happy Easter. Stay safe from Onion Head. Enough respect you. Cohen here with 2 sniff. Big up yourself, bro. Maui says, would you sell Lacazette for Upamecano? You know what? I keep saying it. I don't want to be selling our best players. I want to be building upon. I mean, what's the point in you take 2 steps forward and then a step back? Bring someone in. Why can we never be that club that builds upon? Builds upon what we have. Builds upon the best of what we have. We never seem to do that. You know what I mean? And that's what I really want to see us doing. Philip says, big up New Zealand Gooners, Robbie. I most certainly do. Big up all the Gooners over there in New Zealand and everybody right around the world right now who's watching. This guy is asking, who is she, Robbie? That's that. Well, her name's Sasha Wright. And obviously a lot of people know who she is now. But that's about all I know about her. As I said, it's a real kiss and tell story that's in the papers today. Mick says, happy Easter, Robbie. What about the situation with Hector Bellerin? We spoke about it a couple of days ago. Hector Bellerin, of course, being linked with several clubs over there in Spain, also in Italy with Inter Milan. But it's just rumors at the moment. I get the feeling that he would want to stay. Hector Bellerin would want to stay at Arsenal. But would Arsenal cash in on him? Again, he is a player of value. So would Arsenal cash in on him? I don't know. Nigeria in the building, says Saber Z. He said, happy Easter, Don Robbie. My greetings to the whole crew, especially Kelechi. Big up Kelechi. We've got to get Kelechi on soon as well. Happy Easter, Don Robbie from the Grimsby Gooner. Big up. Happy Easter also from Omar in Kenya. People enjoying Easter right around the world. Today. Here, Sharnik says, diehard Chelsea fan. You should be a diehard Arsenal fan, but diehard Chelsea fan, but love AFTV and Don Robbie, DT and Troops. Enough respect due. Shout out to Singapore watching this. We've got a real audience from everywhere today. Love from Hong Kong. Brilliant. You know what? It was just, I was thinking about it today. It was just about 6 weeks ago that I was sending a message to Arsenal fans in China, wishing them the best that they could get through the coronavirus and stuff like that. And, saying that, it must be really hard for you guys to be under lockdown and stuff like that. Only for us now to end up in the same situation. You know what I mean? It's just unbelievable what has been going on. Really, really is. Randy Viper here says, love you, Don Robbie from New Zealand. Oh, another one from New Zealand. Not going to lie, you guys are converting me into an Arsenal fan from a Manchester United fan. Listen, come over to the right side, man. Get off of the dark side, man. Get United, you know what I mean? Get off of the dark side, man. Come to the light. Sonny TV, he says, hope the White Witch Cronky gets his cash out. Of course, as I said, that was what that lady saying that that was what Unai Emery's been calling her, the White Witch, because she brought him such bad luck the minute they split up. Gonna get a few more comments here. David says, in reality, what top player would want to would want to transfer to Arsenal? We would have to pay over the odds to get them. Will we this summer? I don't know if we're going to be paying over the odds this summer, because there's going to be so many bargains out there. I really do think that. But I was asking that question the other day. Are we in a position to take advantage of that? That's the question. Luca says, happy Easter from Berlin. Keep safe. Happy Easter to all you guys out there. Natu says, hey, Robbie, would you sell Saka for $75 million, which we convert into about, 60 million pounds and that? No. Again, I want to hang on to the very best players. I want to hang on to them. Adil says, will Thomas Partey transfer happen? I feel it's unlikely, again, because it's going to cost so much money. I really do think it's going to cost so much money. Chris says, do you think Emery's tactic of using Torreira as a high-energy pressing midfielder could have worked? No, it didn't work. You know what I mean? And we could never figure it out. I was going to game after game, and I'm like, why is Torreira, our defensive midfielder, our best defensive midfielder, why is he playing high up the pitch in that position? You know, it just didn't make no sense to me. That did not work. You could see after a game or two, it wasn't working, and Emery was persisting with it. And to me, wasting a top player. Stephen Carr says, Emery will start blaming the weather for this sacking soon. Now, that's true. That is how he's starting to come across at the moment, you know, because he's blaming everything. Again, with this story, with this woman, we don't know whether how much of it is true, but as I said, you know what I mean, it doesn't start to make Emery start to come across in that sort of fashion. Robin says, Robbie, happy Easter from Sweden. Heard about your father. My deepest condolences to you and your family. Thank you very much for that, mate. Tyler says, happy Easter from deepest, darkest Swindon. Big up Swindon, man. Curtly Ross says, big up, a huge Gunner fan from South Africa. We are worldwide today, bro. Worldwide. To get a couple more in. There's so many coming in. Really brilliant response today. Chris Owen says, it feels like 3 or 4 months, excuse me, since we've had football. Actually, it's just over a month. But it's unbelievable. And you know what, right? Easter's like one of those busy periods for football. There's so many matches on. The matches mean so much over the Easter period. They really do mean so much over that Easter period. And this is no football, man. It just seems so weird. You know, it seems so weird what's going on at the moment. But what can we do? It's the situation that we're in. Konya says, happy Easter from Uganda. Robert says, happy Easter, watching from Adelaide in South Australia. Big up to you. Cohen says, hey, Rob, mate, love the documentary. Do you know anyone called Austin? He's my mate. He plays for the MK Dons Academy. Oh, I don't know. My son's at that academy, but I don't know. It could be it could be another age group. So I don't, off the top of my head, know him, I'm afraid. Another one here is this is Fizz113. Said, would you buy Rubis from Genk? I don't really know a lot about him, so I can't really you know, never heard of him, so I can't pass a judgment on it. SFNFC says, football unfortunately has changed. Do you think any player really knows what it means to play for the badge? If so, which players? I think there's several Arsenal players who know what it's like to play for the badge. I really do. I think Aubameyang's playing for the badge, even though this whole contract mess at the moment. I think he does play for the badge. I think Lacazette definitely pays for the badge. Some guy, David Luiz, Socrates, you know, whatever you think of these guys, I think they do know what it means. Bellerin, these guys, they know, and they do play for the badge. I really do. There are some other players that are totally mercenary, but you know, I do think that there's still a lot of players that play for the badge. I think what we got to understand is football nowadays really is a business. We look on it, fans, we look on it in a different way to what players look on it. Players are loyal, you know, I mean, they want to be loyal to clubs, but they've got agents behind them, they've got people behind them saying, listen, your career's short, you've got to do what's best for you. If you were playing rubbish, the club would get rid of you. So when you're playing well, you need to get the most out of the club financially. And if they don't get that, they'll be advised to move elsewhere. Players will be like, maybe an Aubameyang could be coming, you know, looks at it, he says to himself, every day he wakes up, I'm 30, I've probably only got 3-4 good years left in me. I want to win something. I've never won, you know, the Champions League or something like that. So if a club comes in for me that could give me the chance of doing that, yeah, I'd move on. You know what I mean? These things do come into their thinking 100%. So I think it's from two different sectors, but there's no doubt that there's a lot of players that they'll be playing for a club. They love that club. They don't really want to move from that club. You hear them a lot of times having big regrets when they've moved afterwards. But, you know, to say that they're not playing for the badge, I think there's a lot of players that, you know, they do play for the badge. But, you know, obviously it's big business behind it as well. A. Lavangi says, honestly, was the chairman from Gabon out of line? He was the president of Gabon's football. I think he's totally out of line. I think coming out and saying what he said about Aubameyang, you know, I mean, he puts Aubameyang in a terrible situation, you know, because all the fans, again, are talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. You know, I'm sure Aubameyang wants to just keep this quiet until everything is concluded, whether he stays or goes. And for the president of, you know, his nation to come out, you know, nation's football, to come out and say that, I think was totally out of order. Keep that to yourself. You don't have to be going and saying those things to people. And I think, you know, I don't think Aubameyang will be too happy with the fact that that's come out. You know, I can imagine he's very unhappy about it. Pirate King says, lots of love from India. Simmed the game on FIFA 19. Still missed the real thing. How do you feel about Max Aarons of Norwich? Story about Max Aarons. He actually, I think I said this before, that he actually went to college with my daughter, and friends with her. So maybe I should try and get on the phone and try and say to her, yeah, can't get him to come to Arsenal. I don't think it works like that. But I think I rate him. Very good young player. Again, another very good, outstanding young player. A player that I think, you know, if the season's completed, then Norwich are more than likely to go down. So I think a player that will be available. But he won't be available cheap. He's a young player. He's an up-and-coming player. A lot of clubs like him. So, you know, will Arsenal be able to tempt him to come to the Emirates? Who knows? We'd have to wait and see. But certainly, if, say, a Bellerin did move on, he would be a great replacement for him. Listen, thanks for watching the show this morning. I really enjoyed doing the show. Some crazy news on it. Don't forget, we're going to be back tonight. I'm doing the Q&A, Sunday Q&A session, so make sure you check it out. And also, coming out at 2 o'clock UK time, don't forget to check out the Supercar Challenge, me versus DT. DT in a McLaren, me in a Bentley, taking on the challenge that was put to us by Auto Trader. You've got to check that out. It's a great video. So that is coming out. That's going to be out at 2 o'clock. Make sure you check out that video. And then I'll be back tonight with the Q&A. Have yourself a great day. Happy Easter to each and every one of you.